Hey guys, this is Thomas Brown, and welcome to the Thomas Vision Podcast. I'm a filmmaker currently based in Atlanta, and this podcast consists of conversations with the professionals I meet along the way. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we have a really special guest. We have Toke, owner of Swade Studio here in Buckhead, Georgia. She is a venue owner. She is a planner. She is an architect and probably one of the most wonderful and pleasant people and genuine people that I've ever met. So, Toke, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
So, Toke, I guess we just have to kind of start things off with your story. And tell me about your life as an architect.
I wish it was a straight and narrow path, but I've always known I wanted to be an architect. I think from growing up, it was the perfect balance between being an artist and being an engineer. So my dad was an engineer and I loved the arts. I had an uncle that was an architect and he would build like these house models and I just fell in love with it. I was good at math and I was good at painting. And as Nigerian parents would say, you cannot be a painter. So it was sort of my way of
What is that? What
best.
is that? What does
Well,
that
they
mean?
just feel like you don't need to turn a passion, a skill that you could. Since I already have the skills of painting, why go to school and study it?
Okay.
And I think that was just their mindset then. I mean, a lot has changed now, but then they saw it as, well, you already know how to draw, you already know how to paint. Why would you go to school to study that? And I don't think they knew then that people could make like a living off of that. It wasn't seen as a profession. Yeah. So I was supposed to go to school for engineering, but somewhere along the lines, when I was introduced to technical drawing, it was a way of me bringing my art into engineering. So architecture was like that even medium. So when I first came to college, I actually signed up for engineering, but a year in, I switched my major to architecture.
I did the same thing.
Oh,
Electrical
yeah?
engineering when I first
Wow.
signed up. I did it in high school.
Okay.
And then I switched over to film.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I think I was going to study civil engineering and I changed my major to architecture. Even my advisors were like, yeah, it's probably a good path for you. And when I got to architecture school, the first year was just art. And I was like, well, this is awesome. And then it got technical. Yeah. So I think I've always just known that I was going to be an architect. Now, the events, on the other hand, I just saw that as what I like to do. I was just always the social person. I would always like people over and I would host and I would plan stuff for people. I'll go to their house and help them host. And somewhere along the lines, when I was transitioning in my profession, I think the company I was working for was sort of, falling apart, for lack of a better word. And I was trying to figure out, okay, am I going to go freelance or am I going to apply to another company to work in? During that time, I think I had a friend who was planning their wedding, and Nigerians try to plan their wedding in 3 months. And someone's like, oh, I know Toke, she's awesome, she could help you do this, like that. And I did. And from that wedding,
Where was this? Was this in?
This was in Atlanta.
This
was in 2014, maybe 13. And I pulled off their wedding in 3 months. From that wedding, I mean, they had a wedding of 300 plus people. So I think everyone would just ask, oh, who did your wedding? And then she'll refer me and someone else who was there, like, oh, who did your wedding? And I just started having people reaching out to me to host stuff for them. And then I hosted someone else's 500 guest wedding. And I think that was when it was kind of like, this is your thing.
Yeah.
It was zero effort for me in terms of figuring things out. Like I had no knowledge, but it just came natural. And
I wanted to ask you about that from an architect standpoint. We're going to kind of drift in from your architect stage into the weddings, and I'm glad you kind of told us what was like kind of the first step into it. But walk me through the mindset. Now, what kind of were you doing? Building, architecture,
residential.
Or residential. So, what's kind of mindset that you have when you are starting a project as an architect, like on a house or something like that?
I think there are phases when it comes to residential design or any form of architecture, you always have to start with a concept. And then you've got to think of how it comes together. And then you go on to the details and then you execute. With the way things are structured, there are a lot of people that do get involved in different stages. But the architecture kind of has to, the architect has to kind of think of each stage while they're designing to be able to get to that final stage. Because of course we have civil engineers that come in at some point. We've got structural engineers and electrical engineers that come in different phases, contractors. But with everything that we do, we've got to think of, well, how are they going to put it together? Or we try to. So when I'm thinking of designing, so I did residential design and remodeling for about 3 years. And at that point, we're solving a problem. So client comes to us, they've got an issue. I don't know, their kitchen is not functional or their house doesn't flow well. So we look at the entirety of it and we try to figure out a concept. Okay, your style is rustic, and you want flow. So we address the entirety of it, but then we start putting the details in while thinking about the execution. So if that were to be flipped over into events, it's kind of the same underlining tone. We've got a problem that we're trying to solve, which is getting you down the aisle or throwing a birthday bash. And we've got to think about the whole thing in terms of what is the experience that we want people to have on that day. In architecture is what's the experience we want people to have in the space. So I think maybe that's why it was sort of norm to me, in terms of those details, because I didn't have any education in planning or any events and design, but I had it with architecture and with designing and with working with contractors to go through the construction process. And then when you get into the nitty gritties, we're talking about details. Now I'm looking for a floral designer to make pretty flowers, or a lighting guy. And that's where we're pulling in like the trades to do, whether it's tile work or roofing or landscaping. It's like the detail component. But we generally have to think of all of that in mind from jump when we're kind of figuring out the whole design process. So sounds lengthy, but
no,
I think
I really appreciate the connection.
Yeah.
When you come into a wedding, you have to deal with the videographers, photographers, floral designers, to the lighting, so that is really interesting. Now, how did you come about wanting to have your own venue? What was that like?
Honestly, I didn't think about it. I think that fast rewind a year or two before, I had felt there were some opportunities that I didn't like grab a hold of. I missed. And I had just told myself, like, man, next time I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to jump in, and what's the worst that could happen? I'll end up right where I started. So when the venue opportunity came, I didn't think. I knew the previous owner and she was leaving. And I think I had casually said it in a conversation. At that time, I think maybe my husband had said it in a conversation like, hey, if you're ever looking for a partner or someone, like, Toke is really good at this. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I bumped into her in the grocery store and she's like, oh, we guys serious? And I'm like, yeah. And then I did. It probably didn't even hit like 3 months into it. Like, wait, hold up.
I'm buying a venue, and yeah.
I'm getting into a long-term commitment in a space. And at that time, I went freelance. So I was a freelance designer in architectural, in my architect world. And I just started, now I've got a location and I'll host events here. And I think over the year, it kind of became a half and half thing where I was, partially an architect and partially designing and doing events. And then before I knew it, I'm like, wait, this is serious. This is a whole business. And I slowly faded out. I still do a few projects just to retain clients and people referring. You never want to let down. But I don't advertise myself. I don't push the architecture because it's a whole business. And I don't know how I got here. I just kept taking little steps. Yeah.
Now that you're in, so I used to do, as you know, events at that venue before you
Yes.
purchased it, and I really love what you've done. I'm not saying that just because you're here,
Thank
but I
you.
definitely have. What have you, I guess, learned about yourself now that you've been an architect for years now. You've been a planner for years now, and now has it been 2 years now since you've
Yeah,
owned
this is three
venue
years.
Saudi
This is the
Studios?
third year
Third year,
now.
yeah. So what have you learned about yourself now? In having this space that you didn't know about yourself before.
A lot. For one, I would say that the biggest thing I've learned about myself is I take things personally. And I've always like, I don't care. I've always been that girl like, it doesn't bother me. No, it does. And as every book I've read, don't take it's business, it's not personal. Not in my field. I don't know who these people were writing to, but it was not with events, it wasn't with architects. We're in people's personal life. We're handling their most important day. I take things personally, and I didn't know that about myself before. So generally, I think when I approach people, it's almost like I'm taking it on for myself and I've got something to prove. And whether it goes great or it doesn't, it affects me negatively or positively. I'm working on it, but that's something I learned about myself, that it is personal for me. And I think it's probably a combination of the reason why I do what I do. I'm not doing it just to be a boss. I did it because I really wanted to have an impact in people's lives. Even with any other thing that I've done, I like to make people remember me. I like to have an impact. I like to leave a memory, and that's personal for me. So it shows in what I do and how I respond to people, the efforts that I put in. I could go above and beyond or kind of be personal, like, "Oh, I ain't doing that." But that is one thing I learned a lot. And then on the flip side, I also learned that you cannot do it by yourself. And I think I didn't know that per se, or I didn't know how that applies per se. Yes, everyone says, oh, you can't do it by yourself. You need to get help. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I've got help. No, you really need partnership. You need help from everyone around you. You need help from your current clients. You need help from your vendors. You need help from your staff. You need help from advertising platforms. You need help from the locals in the area. You need help from everyone almost. It really takes a village to succeed. It really takes a village to make impact. Like a lot of times when I'm meeting with vendors, I'm like, hey, we're working together here, work with me. Whether it's, being patient when I'm yelling, or whether it's, getting out of the way for someone else to have their
You don't
moment or
ever
their
yell.
place.
Let's just clear
Well,
that up. I've done a lot of events with Toke.
I try not
Yeah.
to. I think my yelling is internal.
No, okay.
It's in my head. The little people in my
Yeah.
head are like, and I've just learned a lot that I can't do it myself. And I think I tried to do a lot myself at the beginning because I was used to that. It's on you. But I learned that it's better when there's a lot of people.
And you told me that, I think it was about a week or two ago. You was like, Thomas, you got to let go of some things.
Yes.
You were telling me how you let go of a lot of things. You have other planners and coordinators now in your venue other than just yourself. Your staff has gotten much larger as far as your waiter staff. You have I'm not sure if it's one or two like floral designers that kind of sit within your venue. So that is, and social media.
Yeah.
That was recent as well, social media person.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the problems I have is letting go. And mainly for my film business, it's myself. I do all the editing.
I know.
All the editing.
How you do it?
And then, but my, I have assistants who help me on day of for events, like my wife and a few other guys who assist me. But mainly social media, it's all me. And so I would love to start letting go. So how do you do that? What was the first step for you in just saying, listen, this is maybe not too much, but I could do more if I had help. And so what was the first step in going into getting help?
I broke down.
Okay.
I was forced. I was just like you, saying, "Oh, I can't get the right help," or "They don't do it as good as I would," or I had every excuse in the book, which were valid, but I was forced. I literally broke down. I could not do it anymore. I wouldn't want to get up, and I was forgetting things, and I disappointed one client because I forgot a basic thing, and I realized, wait, like, actually no, it was one of my coordinators. Yeah, one of my coordinators at that time, she looked at me, "You do know that you're," no, I was beating myself up, like, man, I can't believe I forgot that. That's so basic. And she looked at me, "You do know you juggle a lot, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I shouldn't." She's like, "I'm surprised you haven't forgotten 50 other things." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" She's like, "Yeah, you really need help." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do, but I can't find the right person." So I was open to delegating when it came to the front end, because I felt that if you, even if you mess up there, it's not on the day of, it's not through the planning process. So I told myself, like, okay, which one can I not let go of? Like, I've got to maintain the quality and all of this. So I was open to getting help, and someone who had offered months ago, or maybe a year ago, I just reached out, like, "Hey, were you serious?" I met a girl at a conference, and she says, "I know someone that would be perfect to help you out." I'm like, "Yeah." So I said, "Hey, were you serious?" She's like, "Yeah, I'll set up a lunch." I'm like, "Let me just date her and see if we get along," because it's personal for me. And lunch was as if I had known her for months, and I just met her 5 minutes ago. And we had another lunch, and then we had another lunch, and I'm like, "Hey, well, let's talk and let's see." And I still shadowed over her for months, but
Because it's a trust thing,
yeah,
right?
it
And
really
that's what's hard for me is,
It really
I
is.
have tried to have someone edit for me once or twice, and it didn't work out.
Didn't work.
And so how did you, and I know you said you shadowed her, but how did you kind of let go? Is it finding the right person to trust, or is it putting processes in place so that you kind of keep them on a set path? Like what is it about, like, finding someone to trust? Because it's hard for me too, perfectly honest.
Another incident happened, and I had to so I had to leave town for a while. I was dealing with some family issues, and I didn't have a choice but to leave her with things. And in my head, I'm like, "Oh, as long as she doesn't burn it down, I'll be good." But to my surprise, she stepped up. So I was away. She would email me, she would follow up with me, and I'm like, "Huh, well, I didn't expect that. That's awesome." She would keep up with the clients and meet them and show them, and I'm like, "Okay." If she filled in, she went above what I expected when I had to leave. Literally had to leave. And the last time I had to leave the business, it was shut down for 2 weeks. Nothing happened. But then this time around, things kept going. So maybe I did find the right one. But I didn't have a choice but to let go, because I had been over her doing everything. Like, let me check the email. Let me
I
do
was
this.
gonna say, you
let me
found
do that.
another one too in the social media
Exactly.
person as well. So
And
how did
someone
you go
referred.
about that? Someone referred.
Well, that one, I'll be honest, it ended. It didn't go well, because I'm still all over and on top of it. Like, I don't like that, and I don't like this, and I'm learning. I do have trust issues, and I think because it's personal, it's my brand, it's my baby, it's everything that I've got right now. It's like my legacy, and I just think that that's where it comes to play, where you find the right match. It's like dating, but it's business, and I think personality wise is where that trust isn't there yet, because she is very well versed in what she's doing, but I think we don't gel, so I'm still hovering.
Yeah.
But I would say that I know that I need to do better. It's just hard to do better. Yeah.
Well, another thing I would like to mention, it's on the same topic, but a kind of side note, is that's what getting help is why I tell a lot of new entrepreneurs and new filmmakers, photographers, or whoever in the industry that you have to charge what you're worth.
Yes.
Maybe even a little bit more than that, so you can
so
actually
you can
afford
get help. Yes.
to get help. And so, like I said, my problem has been the trust, issue that I'm gonna have to get over and letting go. Like,
Also, I mean, it's okay not to stick with people that you don't trust.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think what's not okay is not trying to find that person that you can trust.
So you don't want to be just trying to mold this person
No.
who's not working out
No.
into the perfect.
No.
As soon as you see some red flags.
Not as soon as.
No, not as soon as. That's what I have.
Not as soon as. That's why I was telling you to. Not as soon as. You've got to give it. I've always had it in my life with everything. 3 strikes, you're out.
Okay.
You've got to give
one
chances.
strike.
Not
No,
one
okay.
strike. It's 3 strikes, you're out.
I think I give 2.
Let's give one more. But once they're out, don't hesitate to try someone else.
Okay.
Don't hesitate. Like, that's the issue. I think that even me, I had an assistant before. And as I'm speaking here, that's what came to my head. Like, but Toke, you're so wrong because you have not tried to get another assistant. And I know I need one so badly. But it just, I didn't try. I didn't try to look for somebody else. I'm like, oh, yeah, she moved and then it didn't go so well. And now I'm like, I don't like assistants. I need one so badly. I've got 300 emails right now that I haven't checked. Come on.
Look, I totally get it. For me, last Thursday, I think I may have told you, but I finally finished all of my, edits that I had owed for 2018.
Nice.
And, for 6 hours, because then I had a event at your venue, like 6 hours
That
after
I
got done.
dragged
So I was like, I don't
into.
owe anyone anything in the world 6 hours. But then I have 2 YouTube channels.
You're doing a lot.
I have corporate video stuff that I can do, and I can do so much more if I had help.
Yes.
With the editing side of things, I could do so much more. And even my other YouTube channel, I haven't posted for 4 weeks, but I've
Is that
filmed
the Coral
already.
one?
Yeah, but I kind of switched that one to filmmaking.
Okay.
Now, so for the past 13 weeks,
Okay.
I had put in new filmmaking videos. But I have 6 films that I've already filmed. I just don't have time to, I hadn't had time to edit because I have all these other projects for my wedding business.
Dad's thing to edit.
Yeah. Well, I got that done right away.
Yay!
Yeah, because I didn't owe anyone.
Way in
anything
time
else.
too.
Yep.
I was gonna wait till November.
Yep. I got it done within a week.
Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't owe anybody
Yes.
anything. Yeah. So but yeah, so I'm gonna try to be better that as well. So let me ask, would you think possibly after owning a venue for 3 years that you would maybe go after multiple venues, or is it?
I've learned a lot from this. So there's quite a few things I would change. But yes, I would not put a limit to it. I do believe that there is great potential in owning a space. I just think that start small, which I didn't. I would definitely take that model. And then also, I think that understanding how frequent the industry changes and being able to allow that happen in that space is very important. That can't happen in the space that I'm in right now. And I didn't start small. So if I do venture out, which I'm very open to, if this succeeds beyond my imagination, absolutely I will. I would just take a different model and approach to how I do acquire, whether it's another space or expand the current space. But I think it's
Let's talk
got
about
a lot
your
of
space.
potential. Yeah.
Let's talk about your space. Why don't you kind of walk the people who are listening and the people who are watching through your space and
Okay.
kind of what it entails?
Well, the beauty about Suada is just the eclectic nature of it. I mean, there's no venue like it. Not in Georgia, and well, I can't speak outside Georgia, but none like it in Georgia. You walk in and you have the option of having a party room. It's the swanky lounge that you really want to go to in Atlanta, but you don't want to because it's full of smoke and it's full of people hopping on tables and bottle popping. But here you get it in a privacy setting. It's like you create your own club
Yeah,
night.
and it really is private.
Yeah.
We did Portia Williams from The Real Housewives. I
Exactly.
filmed there. And you didn't have to worry about,
You don't
people,
worry about
ongoings,
people
paparazzi,
walking in,
anything. Yeah,
none of that.
It's really private.
It's like
yeah.
a little hidden gem
Yeah.
in the heart of Buckhead, and then you have the option of doing the elegant reception or ceremony in our ballroom. It's draped, it's bright, it's really lovely. And when you walk into the space, you just feel that you're in this, ballroom space. So it's like, how do you have the best of both worlds right beside each other? Where you can literally say, I'm either using both. So we have the quaint ceremony and we have the, intimate reception, and then we go party.
You have upstairs and downstairs
Got upstairs and downstairs. So when we deal with small events, we've got a lot of corporate that come in for their wind down Wednesday and they only use the loft space. And we have those that want to do their bachelorette party and they only use the loft space because you can have 30 people or less and you still feel like you're in your custom made basement.
There. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a bar, there's dressing rooms, and just the decor preset in there is very homey. So you don't feel like you're in this hotel lounge.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in your rich neighbor's basement. So the beauty about the whole thing is when you walk through the entire venue, it's like a different experience. And based on the type of celebration you have, you can cater to, it can be catered to that need. And then it has the options of being customized, whether you want to bring in your men on stilts or you want to have snow falling from the ceiling. Those all can be accommodated in the space. So I think it's really great to be able to have all of that in one space.
And can't forget the big tree area.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Our Suwata tree.
Yeah.
The history of the tree is that a local artist carved it out at an art gallery, which was previously in Monroe Drive. And that tree was transported to Suwata. And I think the roots of it, at least when I met the tree, I saw it more as sort of that tree of life and new beginnings. And the name Suwata actually means new beginnings. And I think with all that we do, I've come to see that regardless of what celebration you have, it's the start of something new. It's the renewal of something new. It's the commemoration of a new phase in life. So it just works perfectly within that space. So yeah, our tree is the only thing that doesn't move because it's rooted and grounded in all those values.
And then you have next to that tree area where you normally do cocktail hour, you have like another dance floor area with a stage.
So a lot of bands love it. Corporate events love it because then you have the cocktail hour area where people are hanging out and you've got a nice party dance floor right beside it. You've got the stage right in front of it. So you're able to be in the action and be away, but still connected. That's why the beauty of the whole lounge is, despite the 3 spaces, they're all open and connected. Noise travels, you feel connected, you can see the angles. So a lot of couples that do choose to have their reception there, they can do their first dance right there and everyone can see. Some birthday parties that we do, they do their entrance coming right down the stairs into all their, paparazzi, and everyone can see and feel connected, but you still have the opportunity to find your own place within that space.
Well, Toke.
Oh, I rhymed.
Oh, yeah. Well, Toke, I was going to say thank you so much for coming on. I'm really been excited about this podcast. Been wanting to do it for a while.
I know.
I probably could have done it sooner if I would have had help. Like you said, we can't do it alone.
So we need to put that at the top of your list.
Got to do that. Yep. I'll make it once I get help. I'll update the podcast and tell them, kind of what I've done. To get some help
and tell them what difference it's making.
Made. Well, they'll know because they'll see
more
podcasts
videos.
and more podcasts, more videos. Yeah. So, but thank you so much. And guys, what can everyone follow you at?
Okay. At Suwata Studio, SUADA Studio, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Pinterest, and www.suwatastudio.com.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed listening in today, consider subscribing to the podcast. See you next time.